Hola, again, buongiorno, привет, bonjour, hello,
I said all the ones I know.
Bravo.
Hola. Bienvenido.
buongiorno, buonasera. So the title, I've lost you when you say, when you said the previous owners signs the back of the ownership document. And
That's right. And then you would take that document to the Department of Motor Vehicles. They have service centers all around the province, and you would register the sale and pay for a new license plate. At that point,
So,
the car is
like, you by yourself, like a buyer.
Yeah.
Seller just gives you the keys, the car as it is, and that signed ownership document.
Exactly.
And that's it.
And then you take it.
At that point, it's your car.
Okay, and you can we will be able to do that by ourselves with our set of documents. Means the temporary visa, no Canadian citizenship, no permanent residence, nothing, just visitor visa. And we will be able to do that by ourselves with no problems.
I believe so.
Okay.
I have to add several things that are important to mention. First of all, this is the law here is totally different in different provinces. So what we are talking about, this is about Ontario. And second, you have to buy an insurance right now, and the insurance will be expensive because you don't have, might be expensive, especially in Ontario. So then you bought the car. Yes, this is your car, but you couldn't just jump in and drive home. No, you have to call the insurance company and sign the insurance. And in Ontario, additional thing, you might want to make a security check. In Ontario, this is a kind of standard procedure, what each car should be done from time to time. And of course, you will pay for this.
Yeah, you won't be able to register your vehicle without that security check, and that's why I mentioned taking it to a mechanic before you make the purchase.
Oh.
Yeah, and while we are talking about the car, etc., how about the Canada driver license? I've heard that you cannot utilize our basically Ukrainian driver license for a long time, like months or two, yes, but not more. And then you have to get the Canadian driver license, which is super hard to get. Like full G is super strong exam to pass, and not all Canadians can do that from the first time. At least that's what I've heard from the internet. That not be true. So your comments here will be really appreciated. You're muted. You're muted, guys.
Chris, you are muted.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks. Happens all the time when I'm teaching. So it's a process. It's not a difficult process. It's just a matter of learning the rules of the road. There's a booklet you can buy that has all the rules in it.
Probably online now.
Most teenagers that fail the test is because they didn't study, right? They just think they know everything. Yeah, I'll just go in and do the test, and then they fail. But the physical driving test is not difficult.
And so with the driving test as well, I don't know if there's different rules if you're immigrants and you've had driving experience already.
There's information I linked to in the document,
Okay.
but
Because the first test, once you pass the written test, that's just on a computer, then you're allowed to drive, but you're supposed to have someone in the car with you who has a valid driving license.
Yeah,
That's
G1.
where, Vlad, do you have ideas of how the rules are different for
Yes,
immigrants?
It's a G1.
we are now
Yeah.
working exactly on this for Tatiana, and I know about the process. The issue is that without signed documents from Ukraine, you couldn't say, okay, I have a big experience. They would say you have only 1 year of experience. That will severely hit you in terms of insurance and abilities to drive. But Ukraine now couldn't provide all such documents. So we are now working and trying to understand how Ontario system will work with the new situation. I think in a week or two, I will know more about this because we are going to buy a car, the second car in 2 days or so.
Perfect.
But if I'm understanding correctly, then if you have no documentation except for maybe your Ukrainian driver's license, Vlad, will the Ontario government say that you have 1 year of driving experience?
Oh, sorry, repeat this.
If you have your Ukrainian driver's license, but nothing else, will the Ontario government say that you have 1 year of driving experience?
Yes.
So where that might be helpful, where Max was talking about the G1, is that after having your G1 for 1 year, you can take a test, a driving test, an actual driving test to then get your G2. And when you have your G2, you can have passengers in your car. So although it might still be expensive, and you can drive on your own, it might still be expensive for insurance. At least having that accreditation of 1 year of experience may allow you to take the manual driving test straight away.
you can take a driving lesson too. If you take driving lessons, that gives you a certificate at the end. I mean, that's the only benefit to it I saw, is getting a certificate at the end that helps you save on driving insurance.
And also you get to take your test after 8 months instead of 12. That's how it worked back when I was doing that. Sorry, I haven't kept up on the driving stuff because got my license when I was 16.
1 year ago, then I checked it. It was Desjardins insurance company that doesn't require insurance driving experience in Canada and USA, and they just took your Ukrainian license. It was enough for them to confirm your experience. We will check this later, then it becomes an issue.
Yes, interesting situation, because I have my driver license exchanged when I opened the A category for a motorcycle, and basically I have 10 years of experience and my driver license is 2 years old only. And the big issue that they can tell, hey, you are the newbie in another road, so yes, as much as you can.
Are you able to get an international driver's license from home?
Yes, IDG, basically IDG, but I know that this company was basically in Kiev, and I've ordered it for some of my travels abroad, and I have no idea can we do that right now. So maybe if yes, it will be easier, because at least you can drive with that one, and if policeman can would like to, you know, to punish you and get your driving license from you, you can get that spare driving license to him.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut the
There was another question in the previous chat that I missed.
Yeah, there was one about areas. So some rough areas Vanier is an area. And so I think Vlad's going to share a link to some documents that contain a map later. But there's also downtown is not necessarily dangerous, but there are areas of downtown that are known for certain things. Or you're going to share this screen.
I can.
So around Murray Street is known for where prostitution happens, and also in Vanier. But in Vanier, there's one section of Vanier where there are nicer homes, but there's definitely a lot of drug dealers in Vanier. And then Donald Street and around Donald Street is very low income and tends to have higher crime rates as well. And then some of the Bayshore area. So I put those areas in the chat. But
Jasmine.
Oh, and then Jasmine. Yeah, Jasmine Court. You can put that in Gloucester. Jasmine Court is another one. So these areas, for example, Bayshore, if you drive 1 kilometer north, you hit Britannia and Crystal Bay that are just fine. And same thing with downtown core on Rideau Street, like closer to where Murray is, it can be rough, a lot of homelessness. But if you go to the far end of Rideau Street, there are very nice apartment buildings. And in those apartment buildings, you'll be just fine. So one thing to do when you're looking on Kijiji is doing some like Google Street View and going up and down the street on Google Street View and just seeing how the homes are kept. If the apartment building is brand new, then you're paying more in rent, and the people who own the apartments there are paying higher. In general, Ottawa is not a high crime city. And so that's the best I can say for that. But as far as some places to be more aware of, the ones that I put in the chat, you want to make sure if you're near there that you're doing some Google Street View to see what you're getting.
And I would like to add that we have a bit different scales for this, what to mean what is high and low crime, and Canada significantly safer than USA and Ukraine. So maybe the area that by Ottavian measures is high crime will be just usual, because you live it in such things for a long time. And
so myself, even down Murray Street, like I could walk down Murray Street in the daylight, I would be fine. Okay, on Donald Street, I might be kind of like, oh, this area is a little sketch. But it's not like being in Los Angeles where there are areas where like you can't stop at a red light. There's not a spot like that in Ottawa. And obviously like little crimes could happen anywhere. That Ottawa is pretty safe.
Thank you.
Is there a lot of motorcycle owners there in Canada? Is that a lot of motorcycle owners in Canada? Is that common transportation during the summertime? I know the summertime is shorter than, for example, in California or or in Florida. But
there's a fair number,
Yeah.
Okay.
People own motorcycles in Ottawa usually as recreationally, because they like to do it, and there's not animosity. Motorcycles and cars get along well on the roads. Most motorcycles in Ottawa will respect the rules of motorcycles. As a European driver, you might be frustrated in Ottawa because the drivers are polite. And you'll be like, I want to be more aggressive. You can go to Montreal, they'll be a little bit more aggressive for you. But no, Montreal is not aggressive. I know, compared to Europe, it's not. So you're going to be more frustrated about people like going slow.
Montrealers says that Ottawa is significantly more aggressive than Montreal.
Oh Okay.
Yes, so this is about legends. And I have to add two things that were unusual for me. First, about motorcycles. Motorcyclers are polite in general, and because they follow the speed regulation, they do not run 200 kilometers per hour. This is too expensive here and too short way to run. And second thing, you are not asking about bicycles. In downtown, this is a disaster because by the rules, formally, bicycle has the same rights as a big car. And bicyclists, they are more aggressive in driving, and this is totally different from Ukraine.
Hey, Michelle, can I have just like a short question? When you're saying when you're speaking basically about the drug dealers, do you mean cannabis drug dealers or some heavy drugs?
No, cannabis, you'll find some cannabis everywhere. Plus it's legalized now in Ottawa. So
These are
like
hard-
even in the
hard
suburbs,
drugs.
yeah, no, these would be hard drugs. Yep.
And how aggressive these drugs addicts? I mean, like,
I don't think it's
I would say that you get a lot of it in the homelessness community, right in the downtown core, and you get some people maybe in some of the off ramps to the highway kind of spreading out from the downtown core, but it's not very prevalent at all. Now in Toronto, you get a lot more, a lot more addiction problems and homelessness problems in a place like Toronto, but in Ottawa, it's not very prevalent at all. I wouldn't say.
mm-hmm.
was this cannabis stuff, like the cannabis story when it got legalized, do you feel it somehow affected your life in a negative or maybe positive way?
There were two things I noticed. One, on really cold days, like -30, when I was going out for a run, crazy, but silly. The only other people that were outside were the people who wanted to smoke weed in their garage. Everybody else was inside because it was ridiculously cold. And they were like, oh, it's legal. So now I can smoke weed and it doesn't matter who smells it. But that, I don't know, it kind of has calmed down because it was a while ago.
Yeah.
And now there are some cannabis stores, like, I don't know, there are 2 or 3 stores in Barrhaven. They are all well kept.
I find it's like alcohol. You don't really notice.
Yeah, it's like there's not an abuse of it. There's you don't hear of a huge number of people who are driving high. I don't think it's really caused a problem.
Yeah.
I have to add that to smoke and to drink a lot in Canada, this is expensive, really expensive, and compared to Ukraine.
Did you say to drink water?
No, to drink.
Oh, to drink a lot. I heard to smoke and to drink water.
We got lots of water. Okay, so we got a question about taxes. Should you pay taxes in Canada and how should we do it? So if you sell your car or property in Ukraine, I don't imagine you would have any taxes on that. I'm not sure if I maybe misunderstood the question.
You can, but it's not for the first car. If you sell the second car in a year, yes, you have to pay the taxes. So rules are there.
But what organization provide and where we should give this information, if or when it would be possible, and how can we get this money if we would be in Canada, and we need to get some guide that we don't know all procedure, and we are afraid to not to do something what we need to do, and maybe you can give a link where we can read about such process if you have.
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully understand the issue. Like when you sell your primary residence, the place that you live in Canada,
Yeah.
there's no tax, there's no capital gains on a primary residence. And if you're selling a vehicle, the taxes get paid by the person buying that vehicle when they take the ownership document to the Department of Motor Vehicles and register that vehicle. That's when they pay the HST.
I can rephrase the question. So basically, the question was not about the Canadian way to do
No.
that, but what if they will sell their property in Ukraine and then bring money to Canada, because it may be a significant amount of money. First of all, how to maybe declare in the airport, and that's enough. But should we pay taxes from these money?
No, you have to, if you have more than 10,000 Canadian per person in airport, you have to declare this
Yes.
cash. Otherwise, they could be just taken from you without any description and ability to say no. And by the way, I heard about families who had 5 people in the family and bring 50,000, and they were on one person. No, they should be splitted by everyone. Otherwise, you have to declare them. Declaration, this is free, just do not lie to customs. This is important. And you haven't paid taxes, and this might be important to keep documents about how you got the money. Maybe later, in 1 year or in 2 years, the tax system will ask you to provide how you got the money. So it's always to have some records from Ukrainian bank to provide that this is because you sold your old property.
Yeah, and I will second that. Make sure that you have the paper trail, especially if you're planning on using that money to buy a house, because in order to buy a house, there are specific documents that as a realtor we have to fill out, and the banks will be checking to see the paper trail of money. If your money has been in a bank account for over 90 days, then they will be less concerned. But especially if your money is coming in and has been put into a bank account and you're trying to use it within 3 months, then they're going to want to see very legitimate paper trails of where it comes from. Then even if it's over 90 days, if you have the paper trail, it's better.
So basically, nobody uses cash in that amount.
No.
So like $20 is fine to have in your pocket, but 100, okay, but not thousands.
I don't even have a wallet anymore.
I have $25.
This is my wallet. It's
Yeah.
some cards. This is my purse.
Thank you, understood. It's not for now, it's yes, it may be in 1 year or when it would be possible to do. Not for now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, if you have money that's in a bank account and you can show how it's transferred, and there is the paper, the banking paper trail, you could buy a house right away and you shouldn't have problems, but the bank will take a little bit of time to verify where all the money came from.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, I see a question about the weather and about homeless people.
Yeah, so I answered both in the chat. The weather, -30 to +30. So we get a good mix of weather. It's not sunny all the time. It's not raining all the time. It's a pretty good balance.
In Vancouver, it does rain a lot.
It's a coastal city. All the
so coastal
cities,
yeah. But I mean, in the East Coast, it's not like Vancouver.
That's true.
The East Coast of Canada is more tempered, you'll have more sun and mix. Vancouver tends to be a lot of rain. And in the summer, I would say that you start seeing hot temperatures in June, and the beginning of July can be very hot and humid above the 30 degrees. And then the end of July and August and September are quite nice, between 20 degrees and 30 degrees during the day. And then I'm not sure how high up Ukraine is, whether the length of days is the same. Vlad, is the length of days pretty similar, right?
Yes, exactly the same. And I might say that climate in Ottawa almost the same as Kiev or Kharkiv, almost the same, with one significant difference. In winters, it's in Canada, more often you will have snow and negative degrees. In Ukraine, nowadays, it's more about rain.
And so a lot of us in Ottawa, we like snow better than rain because it just kind of brushes off and you can do things in the snow. The rain just makes you wet.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Snowballs and mud balls are different. Yes.
Okay, so the other question that came up was about salary. So what's a living salary, living wage here in Ottawa? What would you say for an individual person trying to meet expenses in rent for one person here in Ottawa?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I mean, a lot of it depends on your standard of living. If you eat out a lot and that kind of thing, it's going to cost a lot more.
This is a question, let me translate the cross culture. This is a question about close to survival rate. It's always easy to go higher than you have money, but it's always things that you couldn't afford, for example, mobile phone or food or renting. This is important. What is the minimal wage for one person, two person, three? This would be the best.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a tough question to answer because a lot of it depends on the social assistance you're receiving. So there are subsidized housing places where a lot of people earning like nothing, right, will be receiving socialized.
This is for permanent resident.
Yeah.
So for newcomers who has only open work permit, most of the social things wouldn't be available.
Okay.
So the question here is really tough and painful. And
okay, so I mean, if we do a bit of math,
Yeah, I don't know.
what would rent be on a one-bedroom or studio apartment?
So if you're looking on your own to have your own place, sort of the baseline rent, the very bottom would be $1,300. But if you're willing to live in a house with other people, then you might be able to find rooms under $1,000.
Okay, so let's say 1,300.
Yeah.
Let's go 1,300. Your cell phone's going to cost you like $75 a month.
There is a lot of moving parts that include not only a house and mobile phone. This is easy to calculate. A bit harder to calculate taxes and really hard to calculate, for example, food and household things that you always have to pay. So what do you think is really affordable salary that will allow you to buy food? What is the 1 year income?
Yeah,
or
man.
1 month's income?
I would say $35,000 to $40,000 would be pretty much the basic salary to get by.
For one person.
For one person.
For one person. Okay, and for.
But then if you add a second person who's living in the same household, like you don't need to double that salary.
No, you're looking at 40 to 50, I'd say.
Yeah.
So 40 to 50, this is for two people.
Yeah.
And if For example, two people with children, one kid.
Kids are expensive.
Depends if your child is in school,
Yeah,
not as bad.
That's
If you
true.
have only one parent working.
that's true. Like daycare.
We had
I'll give you an
three.
example.
I guess we weren't thinking.
Daycare was costing us about $12,000 a year for one kid.
So
That was before they got into school, right? So it was expensive. But once the kids got into school, I mean, then you start saving for university and stuff like that. But I don't know. Like, I don't know what I would do. 60, 70, I don't know.
this is not exact math. This is just to understand
Yeah.
ranges. It is more about intuition and knowing the system, because a lot of moving and inputs. So
You know what,
thank you.
Vlad, I think I'll take that question back to some other people we know who work with some families in low income areas, because they may be able to reach out and say, hey, like, we know 5 families that live in this area and they only bring in 40,000 a year and they have 3 kids and they make it work, and here's how they do it. Because there are also things like the food bank, and so that doesn't discriminate, and so you could be paying for your rent and your you know, your phone, your housing costs, and then if you need to that month, then you use the food bank to help supplement some of your nutritional needs.
Many of such things, they require a permanent resident status or citizenship. So it might be important to know about such, because people who rely on this might be highly surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll ask about that.
Thank you.
Because you used to work at the, like, volunteer at the food bank.
Well, the food bank is open to anyone.
Yeah, the food
Yeah,
bank
you
is,
don't need
I don't think you need anything. The
You don't
food
need
bank,
ID,
you just
so,
show up.
yeah.
Yes.
You don't need to, yeah,
But that's not what they're asking about. They're asking about being able to afford food. So
yeah.
Yes, this was hard for me. I remember then 3 years ago, I decided I got a job offer. I know my income, but I couldn't understand which house I could afford for me, because how to calculate the family budget if I don't know my spending. Okay, I may sum everything. I even could calculate expenses for taxes, but the numbers, they couldn't come to the system. And know the numbers that you said are really important. Thank you.
and unfortunately, like, I don't know what those numbers are, because we're blessed to not have been in that position, unfortunately, for some of the people that are. So
But we will reach out,
Yeah,
because
we'll find out.
obviously, as you make less money in Canada, you pay way less tax.
Yeah.
Right, so if you're making under 40,000 a year, you're paying way less tax than people who are making over 60.
Yeah.
And if you make over 100,000, then you're paying a lot more tax. So we'll ask, and then we'll give that information to Vlad and he can send it out.
Thank you.
Is that useful in Canada to have 2 kids in the family?
Is it useful?
Yeah, like because in Ukraine it's not so popular, you know.
Popular, not useful.
Yeah, not useful. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, no, it's not useful in Canada.
Yeah.
We both had 1 sibling each, so we both grew up in families with 2 kids, and we thought, we had 2, they're fun, we'll try 1 more. I had the 3rd one, she's a charm, so it's fun, but yeah, it just costs money.
if I just Google it, I mean, they're saying in Google that the average salary in Ottawa is about $89,000 a year, and the median salary is like 47,000. So that's just a quick Google search. I don't know what that if that's helpful at all. Ottawa is a government city, so you get a lot of unionized jobs with higher salaries. So,
but if the typical salary is 46 and you have some big salary, yeah. So
let me dig a bit inside what's going on. This is a huge fear for people who are moving that we will arrive, something went wrong. And if something went wrong, that we shouldn't find yourself in outside a house without food and in a city that nobody speaks in our language. This is a kind of related to homeless and low income, because many programs wouldn't be available. I should add that I see a strong communities here that are willing to help. This is a kind of long living Maidan relations and something like this. And I see that homeless people mostly are young men. I saw only 2 women during the 3 years who were homeless.
Yeah, the homeless population in Ottawa is definitely men, often with mental health issues. So with mental illness. And even there are lots of programs though for men with mental illness that keep them off the streets and help them. But I can appreciate that coming from a different country, you need to know what you need in order to provide for your family.
Mm-hmm.
So Michelle, how usual for Canadians to change their profession? Like you said that you were a teacher, now you're like more real estate agent, right? Or temporary. So
Yeah.
is it something that going on regularly? What do you think?
I would say in private industry, people are able to move around quite a bit and change their professions. Usually people who have a professional designation like dentist, doctor, teacher, they tend to stay in that profession. Also people who end up with jobs in the public service in Ottawa with the government, either federal or provincial, they call it the golden handcuffs because not everybody likes their job there, but it pays pretty well and the pension is really good. So once you get one of those jobs, you don't tend to leave. So your salary is capped, but it also gives you, like, you're in this middle range that allows a decent life. People in private industry feel a bit more flexible to try different things. What would you say?
I think that was a great answer. I was pretty impressed. I think that a lot of people do side gigs as well. So they'll have a little business on the side. A lot of little small businesses take place in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Good question.
Oh shit, we have a countdown timer again.
yes.
Oh, no.
Okay, do we need additional session? Do we have additional questions?
We need that document. We need your clothes and motorcycle. We need that document just for with all that comments.
I will add to the document the chats. I will convert everything and will be put to YouTube. Michelle, Chris, thank you very much. Hope it was helpful and thank you for participating.
Sure. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was waving at Dasha.
We really appreciate that. Really appreciate that, guys, because you have that unique knowledge in your head because you get used to that life, and we know nothing except, that country exists somewhere in the globe.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for clarifying that.
Feel free to email Vlad any of your questions too, and he can pass them on. We can connect too if you have other questions.
I put our emails in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Roger that. 10-4.
Max, great to meet you. Andre.
Nice to meet you too.
Let us
Natalia.
know how you do and where you end up. We'd love to hear your stories.
Yeah. And we're happy to help to connect if you need.
10-4. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Слава Україні.